Να ξεκινήσουμε με την συνέντευξη που πήρε ο Λάμπης ο Κυριγωτάκης, ο ανταποκριτής μας στο Λονδίνο, από τον Ευρωβουλευτή, τον Βρετανό, τον Nigel Farage, ο οποίος μιλάει για την κρίση στην Ελλάδα και μάλιστα εξαπολύει μύδρους εναντίον της Γερμανίας για την στάση που κράτησε στο θέμα του επιτρόπου που πρότεινε να μπει στη χώρα μας.
Ένας από τους πρώτους ξένους πολιτικούς που πήραν αμέσως θέση, δημόσια μάλιστα, μέσα στο Ευρωκοινοβούλιο εναντίον της σκέψης και της πρότασης της Γερμανίας για τον διορισμό μόνιμου δημοσιονομικού επιτρόπου στην Ελλάδα ήταν ο Ευρωβουλευτής και πρόεδρος του Βρετανικού κόμματος της Ανεξαρτησίας Nigel Farage. Στη δυναμική ομιλία του μέσα στο Ευρωκοινοβούλιο, ο κύριος Φαράζ είπε μεταξύ άλλων ότι η Ελλάδα δεν είναι θυγατρική εταιρεία κάποιου μεγάλου οργανισμού, αλλά ένας πραγματικός τόπος που ζει και αναπνέει.
These people now intend to utterly humiliate and demean Greece. And I think the reason perhaps I got the response I did is the point I was making on that day is that Greece isn't a subsidiary company of a big organization that's having a bad time. Greece is a living, breathing, real place. It's a nation, and its people have pride, and its people have feelings, and you can't treat them like this. And so I think the response was, I was probably the only person in the European Parliament saying that.
Yeah, it was a strong reaction, very strong reaction.
Yeah.
Now, are you concerned that Germany is becoming the dominant player in the European Union?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, oddly, I think Mrs. Merkel is a reluctant leader of Europe. I don't think she wants to be in the position that she is, but by virtue of the fact that firstly, they are the biggest economy, and secondly, that the people that are leading the European institutions, and I'm talking about Mr. Barroso and my old friend Mr. Van Rompuy, those people are very weak personalities. They're also not elected, as I've repeatedly pointed out, and therefore they have no legitimacy. So in the midst of this crisis, Merkel effectively has had to step forward and take a leading role. Now, if one thinks back historically about Europe, and I know we're not supposed to say this, but the truth of it is the whole object of the European Union was to stop Germany being such a dominant and difficult country as she'd been in the previous 150 years. So ironically, that's what's turned out. The Germans are ruling the show. And but what I'm even more worried about, even than German dominance, is that the EU itself, the Commission, the Council, now, frankly, let's not call it undemocratic, it's anti-democratic. You know, your elected Prime Minister was effectively removed by bully boys from Brussels. Mr. Berlusconi in Italy was removed by bully boys from Brussels. The Italian cabinet now does not have within it a single directly elected or accountable politician. And this is the big disaster. Now, I mean, if I put myself in the position of somebody living in Greece today, it doesn't matter how I vote. Elections have become meaningless because you're effectively now run by 3 foreign officials who fly into Athens airport and tell your Prime Minister what he may or may not do. I fear in Mediterranean countries where we now have youth unemployment rates of approaching 50%, which is a very serious situation, I fear that as people start to lose hope and as people start to feel desperate about their situation, they will be forced to take desperate measures.
Ο Nigel Farage, πριν ασχοληθεί με την πολιτική, ήταν ένας επιτυχημένος επιχειρηματίας στο City του Λονδίνου, στο χρηματιστήριο και το εμπόριο προϊόντων, και με την εμπειρία του αυτή είχε προβλέψει την επερχόμενη οικονομική κρίση στην Ελλάδα.
In fact, to be honest, I've been talking about Greece's problems now for nearly 6 years. I think I was the first person in the European Parliament to point out that there was a looming problem coming. And unless you understood financial markets, you probably couldn't see it. So I've been watching this tragedy as it unfolds, and I think the proposal that came from the German finance ministry, frankly, was the final straw. All of this idea about saving the euro, about helping Greece. Greece is not being helped by being in the euro. Greece is being destroyed by being stuck inside this economic prison. I know that going back to the drachma, yes, of course, there'll be 2 or 3 turbulent weeks. Yes, of course, it won't be easy for that period of time, despite all the difficulties that Greece has. And yes, there do need to be some, controls over government spending, and tax revenues and collection need to be better. But if you had a devalued currency, if it was devalued 50 or 60%, I promise you, I would book a holiday to Greece the very next day. And there'd be millions like me that would do it, because suddenly you would have priced yourselves back into the marketplace.
How do you see the future of the European Union now?
Well, I don't think that countries like yours will still be in the euro in 18 months' time. I'm certain of that. So there's going to be a different configuration of the currency itself. And I do not think this European Union will survive. Yeah. I really don't. I can't give you a time frame on it, but I don't think it can survive.
You mean the European Union or the Eurozone?
Both.
Ένας από τους στενούς συνεργάτες του Nigel Farage είναι ο ελληνοκύπριος πολιτικός Ανδρέας Χαραλάμπους, ο οποίος στις τελευταίες εκλογές είχε θέσει υποψηφιότητα με το Συντηρητικό Κόμμα σε εκλογική περιφέρεια στο Βόρειο Λονδίνο, χωρίς να εκλεγεί. Ήσουν με το υποψήφιος με το Συντηρητικό Κόμμα. Ναι. Τώρα βρίσκεσαι με το κόμμα του κυρίου Farage. Γιατί έγινε αυτό?
Πιστεύω έχεις ακούσει τους λόγους εσύ. Ο κύριος Farage είναι ο καλύτερος πολιτικός, για μένα τουλάχιστον, που έχω γνωρίσει. Ο καλύτερος πολιτικός που υπάρχει τώρα στην Ευρώπη.
Τα βρετανικά μέσα ενημέρωσης ταυτίζουν το κόμμα του Nigel Farage με ακροδεξιές και εθνικιστικές πολιτικές. Ο ίδιος το προσδιορίζει ως ένα ανεξάρτητο και φιλελεύθερο κόμμα, το οποίο θέλει την έξοδο της Αγγλίας από την Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση. Στις τελευταίες ευρωεκλογές, το Βρετανικό κόμμα της Ανεξαρτησίας συγκέντρωσε το 17% των ψήφων και εξέλεξε 13 ευρωβουλευτές. Ήλθε δεύτερο κόμμα μετά τους συντηρητικούς και πάνω από το Εργατικό Κόμμα. Στις τελευταίες όμως βουλευτικές εκλογές συγκέντρωσε λίγο περισσότερο από το 3% των ψήφων και δεν εκπροσωπείται σήμερα στη Βουλή.